Hey guys, what is going on? KingKongor here. It's been a while since I've done a video. I think it's time to talk a little about Path of Exile 2, launching on December 6th. It's almost there, 9 more days at the shooting of this video. I've been absorbing all the content, all the interviews, all the gameplay, and yes, I'm gonna play Warrior. Another video about that very soon. But I want to talk about something that was said in an interview with Jonathan. An interview made by Talkative Try. Thank you, by the way. Amazing stuff. But Jonathan said something about the Ascendancies that I thought was interesting to talk about. So let's listen to it.
Awesome. Glad to hear it made it into the game. And then the other Ascendancy question, can you change Ascendancies in PoE 2?
So you actually can't right now. I think I did another interview recently where I thought that we could, but I believe that you can't at the moment. There's probably more discussion to have about that. I do know that certainly some designers are very keen to be that a locked choice. So you know, we'll talk about that more. We'll see how that goes. But at the moment you can't, and so that'll be how it goes into early access anyway.
All right, so yeah, that's kind of interesting. So Ascendancies might be locked in. There's still some discussion internally about it. Jonathan first thought in a different interview that we could actually change our Ascendancies. And in case you don't know what Ascendancy is, so basically it's like a specialization. So in World of Warcraft, you got specializations. You can become a tank or a healer or, you know, anything like that. In Path of Exile, in the current Path of Exile 1, for example, let's say you pick a duelist, you can become a gladiator or a slayer or the other thing that I don't know the name of because I never played it. But yeah, so you have the freedom, at least, in case, let's say, you don't like it, to go back to the other one. Because Ascendancies are something that you get to choose very early in the game. Currently in Path of Exile 1, it's around level 34 where you go into your first trial. And the same thing is happening in Path of Exile 2. I think it's even earlier. I think it's already in the beginning of Act 2 or 1. They have said it, so I could be wrong here. But it's very early, so it's a choice you make very early. So yeah, why is the choice that you make very early so important that you have freedom to change it? Well, it's very simple. Sometimes you see a build online and you're like, wow, that looks amazing. Or you're just an absolute giga chat that makes his own build. But you spent now 30 hours, you're getting to the absolute end game, the end game. I'm not just talking about level 65, I'm talking about level 90 plus. This is where like it's the true end game, in my opinion. This means you've already invested a pretty good amount of time. And you know, we know how Path of Exile works. It gets more difficult to a point where it's like true end game, pinnacle bosses, all that kind of stuff. And sure, you don't need a build that can do everything, but sometimes you play a build that will feel absolutely incredible during the campaign, incredible in the early end game, and then you get to the actual end game and you completely feel like a sack of potatoes. You can't do anything, you keep dying. And that's where respecialization comes in, because you usually have gathered some currency and you can either choose, do I keep upgrading my character? You can do that. It could potentially save your build, but I've had characters where I just kept investing in the build and it barely improved. And this is a point where I spent like probably a couple tens of 20 to 40 hours into this one character, and having that moment hit you where you're like, okay, I need to change something. Having the freedom to change your Ascendancy at this point, I think is very important. Because if you're locked out to change something at this point, and you have to make that decision to make a new character starting from level 1. And I'm not really an altaholic. I'm not the kind of guy that will make a lot of new characters. I usually make one character and I make him super strong. Like my Zenith guy or Zenith, whatever you want to call it. I smashed 30 mirrors worth of gear in it, and he's finally at the point where I feel like he's done. And that's how I'm gonna play Path of Exile 2 as well, most likely. Path of Exile 2, I do want to check out way more classes and try out all the Ascendancies, but yeah, having freedom with an Ascendancy on a choice that you make that early, I think is important, because a choice you make in the first few hours of your characters, not being able to change that and only finding out maybe very late game that you made a wrong choice, I think is a bad idea. So yeah, nothing is set in stone right now, but I am very curious. How do you feel about this? And I have asked this on Twitch chat. Some people think it's good for a character building of your character, but I think that is a weird take. But I mean, everyone's free to have their opinion, but I think that's a bit weird to think that way, because usually you play this game for yourself, you play alone. You do trade with other people, but the people that you trade with are not like, oh wow, this character's identity is a Slayer. Wow, that is a real Slayer I'm dealing with right here. I mean, nobody cares. You just trade and you go out of each other's way. I feel we need that freedom. We've always had that freedom in Path of Exile 1. Why would they take it away? But yeah, it is still being discussed. Knowing the Path of Exile community after all these years, I do think people will have a weird feeling about them taking away this freedom. So I honestly am not too worried. I do think they're going to give us that freedom. But right now in the early access, starting the 6th, we're not going to have it. But I really, really wanted to voice my concern, because I think it's concerning that they're considering taking away that freedom. So yeah, how do you feel about it? Please let me know in the comments. And yeah, let's have a healthy, positive discussion. All right, have a good day, guys. And I'll see you in the next video.